What's up, everybody? It's Heat Overriding. I'm ready to break the cave for you this week and Dr. Roto. Ooh, yeah. Woo! Let's bring the pain. So, on this, I wanted to throw in a real quick podcast. Again, back to back. We're doing it for Dr. Roto today, right? So, I wanted to go over my 10-team mock draft. Now, I know it's 10-team, right? So, the league can be a little crunched. There's going to be better players on better teams. It really comes down, but you got to be smart. Again, you can't just always think that people are going to be in 12, 14, and 16 team leagues. Some people have 10-man leagues. I have a 10-man league where we actually brought up, or two of the sons got old enough to play fantasy football, and we just added them as 9 and 10. So you have to be sharp, again, going back to these leagues. So when I do a draft article, I literally know that there's every other expert out there on every other site and even our own that are doing all these drafts. But for me, what I always like to be different. I like to differentiate, and I like to make sure that I'm a chameleon. Yeah.
When you do the draft with the Macho Man and the Macho Raw, yeah, the Heat Override, you're gonna be in for a hell of a read. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get it up. So track. When I talk about being a chameleon, I'm talking about being different, hiding, breaking your drafts. When I say breaking your drafts, people think I'm literally talking out of my mind. I am not. I will break any single fantasy football draft. And I do it because when I start making teams and I start watching how players are picking and I'm watching their teams, especially you put a board in front of me, it's almost impossible to beat me in a draft. Yeah, your team might beat me, but I'm telling you, I'm always going to rank in the top when it comes to the end of the draft. That's just the way I am. I'm going to talk what I'm going to talk because I got the stats to back it up, right? But at the same time, you have to draft a story. Not every time do you have to draft the best player. Not every time do you have to go low ceiling, high ceiling, risky ceiling, taking some risks. Yeah. But at the same time, you have to also remember sometimes your draft can make a story. And that's what's special about this draft. And that wasn't the way I was going into this draft because, like a chameleon, I had to blend to the way that the draft was moving. So that is what I did. So you have to be smart. You have to, again, look at who's being drafted and which positions are being drafted. If there's a run, you easily go another direction. Why? Why would you want to not? Because when all those people are done doing those runs, say a quarterback run or a tight end run, they're going to need other positions, and you've already been picking those players. Again, this draft is going to show a big reason of why that's going to happen. So I picked from the fifth spot in this. So practically, even though it was a snake draft, I still came around and had that extra pick a little earlier, and then I had to wait a little later on that comeback. So on the snake. So here goes the team. My first pick overall was Tyreek Hill. Again, I was at 5. And by the time it got to me, I said I needed a star, a stud, somebody who could score. And last year, Tyreek Hill finally showed that he could score. But again, back to back years where he's over 115 receptions. I think he had 119 each season the past 2 seasons and over 1,700 yards. Man, that is great. And I think he had 7 touchdowns 2 years ago, and I think he had 13. I know that I'm thinking because I'm running off the top of my head. I don't have anything in front of me except maybe my show itinerary. Yeah. Ha ha. So so I came back around. So of course I'm a running back dude. I like to take the running backs and go with like B type receivers. And because I know I can get points out of those, and I'd rather have that player that's getting more touches. Again, when someone's getting around 12, 13 targets a game, like Tyreek Hill gets, that's really hard to replace. But I'm not talking about getting a receiver that's 9 or 8. At that point, all receivers are practically the same if that's how many targets you're going to get. So I would rather take a running back that's getting at least 15, 16, 17 rushes and at least maybe a few targets out of the backfield, because then overall that gives me a better bunch. Plus, again, if you're down at the goal line and you have a player like Jonathan Taylor, I feel great about those odds every single time. And I cheered for that man last year because he was on my team. Yeah. Woo. Pulled off a trade. And that's exactly it. Because sometimes you have to draft players to actually trade away. That player for me was DeAndre Swift last year because I was so amazing at how I drafted and where I was. Plus, of my keepers, we only were allowed one. It was Josh Allen. So therefore, I already stepped into that league with, one of the best fantasy players for the past few seasons. It's no doubt. It's Josh Allen. It's not even really a close landslide. He just does too much. So that really does demerit some of the other, like James Cook a little bit. So let's roll it back to Garrett Wilson. Again, I'm not the biggest Jets fan, but the Jets roster is stacked. And Garrett Wilson showed that he could thrive with not good quarterbacks. Just anybody was getting thrown back there. I don't even want to mention Zach Wilson. Happy he's gone. But anyway, you know, that was just bad. So now he's actually got Aaron Rodgers come back. And again, if Aaron Rodgers can play this whole year, you're going to see Garrett Wilson get the targets, touchdowns, yards that you need. Again, he's now my second receiver to Tyreek Hill. Third round came around, and I was looking at running backs, but I didn't want to go running back because Josh Allen was there. Now I'm trying to see, okay, I'm making Josh Allen, I have Tyreek Hill, and I have Garrett Wilson. I'm feeling really good about myself, right? So now you're seeing how my team is developing. I have my receivers, I have my targets established, and I have the best fantasy football player right now. I'm excited. I'm literally excited. So when it came back around, Cooper Kupp was still there. Cooper Kupp. So guess what? I picked Cooper Kupp. Now I want to backtrack a little bit. Now the Garrett Wilson, I was looking at Breece Hall, but Breece Hall was picked before I got to my pick. So forward back to Cooper Kupp. Also, Puka Nacua was picked before Cooper Kupp. I get that everybody's out on my boy Coop, right? But at the same time, when those targets are there and Stafford still peppering him and peppering Nacua with targets, Cooper Kupp is still a threat. And the fact that he is my third receiver when he was only a first round pick last year, even when he was coming off of an injury, and then the previous year coming off his monster year and a Super Bowl win, the Rams are all in right now. And this is practically Stafford's swan song. This could be his last season. So he's going to want to pad his stats. And there's no better way to pad your stats than to get Cooper Kupp the ball. So now I got Josh Allen, Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, and Cooper Kupp. I'm set. Tell me you ain't doing it. Again, 10 team leagues allows the players open. So I know I had to go running backs. This is why I said sometimes things develop into a story. James Cook was going to be there. Now, Keon Coleman was already gone. I don't know. They went after that rookie real early. Like, I wouldn't have, and I didn't. And I'll tell you why. You'll learn why I'm talking about this way, right? So I took James Cook. I came back around. I took Ramondre Stevenson because if there's one Patriot I want, it's Ramondre Stevenson. I don't want any other Patriot. I just don't. I'm sorry. And if you're a Pats fan, your team's going to suck. That's the way it's going to be. I don't even want May. I didn't even draft him. I don't want no part of that offense right now at all. And I hope you don't. And maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be wrong. I'm really sure about that. Yeah. So now I got James Cook and Ramondre Stevenson. I have literally an amazing starting lineup, and I have practically Buffalo Bills offense, and I'm looking good. And of course, Khalil Shakir was already taken. He was taken like in the second round. So, but forward out, I'm sitting there and Austin Eckler's right there. Literally another first round pick. I pick Austin Eckler. Why not? Why not? Why wouldn't I? 3 running backs in a row. Yes. And I'd make the fourth one. Nick Chubb. People are scared of Nick Chubb. And this is what I'm going to tell you. Go ahead. Be scared. Every single one of you experts that doesn't think Nick Chubb is going to come back and smash is literally not an expert. Because Nick Chubb, getting him this late in a draft, gave me 3 amazing receivers, 4 amazing running backs that all can game break. My team is deep. I have a flex. I can do anything. I can play the matchups. I have completely a beautiful team. So immediately after that, what I like to do when I say break drafts, grab trade equity, Justin Herbert was my next pick. Maybe I reached or maybe I didn't, but I will tell you this. Out of all the years that I've ever had, I had a really bad year a long time ago, back in like 95, 96, when I had all of my 3 drafted starting quarterbacks go out for the year with injuries. And we only had 3 pickups. I was at ends, people. I was at ends. I didn't know what to do. And this was like, I made a vow to make sure that I always have a viable backup. When I won the league championship a few years ago, after winning it last year and then losing it, winning it 2 years ago again, and then losing it last year, taking 3rd place, which is no knock. I've been winning it. Somebody else needs a piece of the peyote. Eventually, I can't be that. But hey, when you look at 2 first place finishes, a third place finish, and a fourth place finish, all cashing extra cash in the league in 4 years in a row, and know that Josh Allen was my quarterback and I was picking at the back of the draft the entire time, only gives me you more merit to understand and listen to some of the words that I'm saying, because I'm speaking out of my wits, that when I say you break a draft, you break a draft. I got that. And it worked out good for me last year when I had Dak Prescott and I had Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert went down. And I was really on Dak at the time because he was really killing it. I had to finish out with Dak, but I had CeeDee Lamb on that team too. See? So that's what happens. You kind of make a story. So I made that story by selecting Dalton Kincaid as my starting tight end with the next pick, the 10th round. And this was huge for me, people, because now I do have this story. It doesn't matter that I missed out on Khalil Shakir, and it doesn't mean that I hated missing out on Keon Coleman. But at the same time, to get Dalton Kincaid, which I've seen more from than Coleman, I'm with that. I don't care about Knox. Knox is fine taking a back seat. Bam. Next pick, DeAndre Hopkins. Now, again, this is a 10-team league. That's why I'm getting some of these players. But you're not going to tell me that I ain't going to have a backup like that, right? Next, backup tight end, Pat Freiermuth. Bang. Now I got my 1-2 punch. Yeah, I drafted backup tight end. I want a good tight end when my tight end takes a day off, right? Or I want to be able to make sure, because now that Russell Wilson's in Pittsburgh, I'm all on that offense. Russell Wilson knows how to get his players the ball. He's a threat out of the backfield. People will not be able to do that. And what happens in Pittsburgh? The Steelers always have a tight end streak over the middle, and there's always a tight end around. That's Pat Freiermuth. If you're not drafting Pat Freiermuth, he's literally going to be the sneakiest tight end you can draft this year. And that's, again, why I got him this late in an expert draft. Bam. I rounded out the next 2 picks by just going Ravens. Justin Tucker. Now I have the best kicker. Ravens defense, one of the best defenses. We're going to end this out so we don't waste time. Number 15, handcuff, Antonio Gibson. Can't help it, right? And here it is. Bam! I bring the pain. Last player, Curtis Samuel in Buffalo, giving me the Buffalo stack that nobody really thought of. But while Coleman is a great prodigy and how I think he's going to be a great receiver, Curtis Samuel is a veteran, has already played under crappy quarterbacks for years. Now he literally gets his best quarterback he's ever played with. And you think that nobody is drafting Curtis Samuel? This man needs drafted. Mark my words. Hit override. Bringing the pain. Saying it out. That's how you do it. That team's amazing. This team, I would love to see this team play in a league, because I'm telling you right now, it's going to be hard to beat them. This team would be definitely the top 3 in that league and should win the championship. Yeah, get over to Dr. Roto, code Doc, get you 10% off your subs so you can get into my subs only Discord. You can talk to Doc, you can talk to Danger, you can talk to every single one of us. MLB is going on right now. Get in there, get it, talk to Lou, and then talk to me in my defensive chat. IDP, because I'm the IDP hero. I'm ready to bring it for you. If you didn't check out my tiers, get to Dr. Roto. Check out those tiers. Check out my tier podcasts that are coming up this weekend. So be ready for that. I got 3 of them. 3 of them. Defensive line, linebackers, defensive back. And that's how we're bringing the pain this week, people. Get to it. Have fun. Draft like heroes. Break your drafts. And listen to me and my draft. Because if you do, you will be a boss. Yeah. Woo! And may the draft be with you.